the Anthrax guys literally like brothers to me. I mean, as I've said before, we literally grew up together. I've known them since we were since 18 years old, growing up in New York, in the city. We'd be at the same shows. We were all Kiss freaks, hanging out on 48th Street, looking to see if we could see a member of Kiss going in and out of a studio. That's how far back I go with them. And the same with Overkill, Blitz and Dee Dee being the original members. Those guys used to drop off demo tapes when I started in radio, and I was living at home in my parents' mailbox, and beep the horn and drive away in an effort to get me to play their demos before they even got signed. So having those two bands on that cruise was really fun for me because I've got so much history with them, and it was fun seeing them both, and both still sounding amazing. Both bands just sounding great. So great time there, and you can hear Chuck Billy from Testament. Got a bunch of history with Testament because they were signed to Megaforce when I was working at the label. So I've known those guys well over 30 years. I saw Eric Peterson from the band pretty briefly as well. So much fun. Chuck came on for a little bit. Ellefson came on for a little bit. Charlie was on. Guys from Anthrax were on.
Your old neighbor.
Ben Weinman sat in with me. Ben from Dillinger Escape Plan. He showed up on the last day. I couldn't find Ben. And he had told me he was going to be on the ship, and I couldn't find him. Because, see, when you're on a cruise ship, unless you buy the Wi-Fi, which is very spotty and can be expensive, and I don't suggest it, by the way. If you go on a cruise, whether it be for vacation or whatever, I do not. The beauty of the cruise is the disconnect to me. It's the one place you can go where you don't have to be connected to the internet and escape from the world. That is by far my favorite thing about being on a cruise. Now, I have to have Wi-Fi because if you listen, I am working from the thing. And I've got to be in touch with Ed and have some line of communication. So I have to have it. But if you're on a vacation or you don't need to have it, I think you're crazy if you buy Wi-Fi. To me, the whole thing is getting away from it. So I had Wi-Fi, but most people didn't. And I'm trying to find Ben. And if you have Wi-Fi, you can text to another iPhone, the iText. But Ben doesn't have an iPhone. He's got an Android, so you can't do that over. So it's just like trying to find people. I went 3 days on that ship before I ran into him. And we ran into each other in the port in Ensenada. And I talked to him for a bit, and I said, yeah, come on. And Ben's story is interesting if you were listening to that show, because that band, and look, Ben and I are friends, but he knows that music's way too extreme for my personal tastes, although I respect what he did with it. But that band, Dillinger Escape Plan, I mean, he built that thing, and he said to do 3 sold-out nights at Terminal 5 here in New York. It's like a 4,000 cap venue. It's amazing that what he built that into, and then ended it. That's incredible. And I saw him play with Suicidal the day after he did my show that night, and he's a great fit for that band. I went out and watched a few songs. So, yes, I don't want to forget my buddy Ben. We had a great time as well. So there's a recap on the mega cruise, and as I said, we'll see what the future holds on that. Ed, let's get some other news or anything else we need to recap, because this has been a big catch-up day. Ed, what else do we have in news?
Well, let's see. We already covered the news that Phil Campbell and Mickey D have been added to Motorhead for possible induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so righting that wrong. Very happy there. Big story that happened today. Sad news to report.
Real quick, hold on, Ed. Before you go forward on that, I was a bit disconnected, even though I had Wi-Fi on the cruise. It's very spotty. It was really in and out. So I didn't keep up like I normally do on all the news and social media for a few days last week.
Yes.
But obviously I was outraged like everybody about Mickey and Phil not being included.
Many people were.
Did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame make a statement?
I have not. Did they put
out a press release? How did that come out, actually?
So basically, people noticed, as did I, that on the official Rock Hall website, where it lists the members set for possible induction, they added the 2 names. I'm looking for a press release, a statement from the Rock Hall, but it just looks like they added the names.
Yeah, I got a feeling they caught wind of the outrage. I got a feeling that Dave Grohl or whoever pushed from the inside to even get Motorhead on the ballot probably got word over there and said, you guys have messed up here. Why it wasn't caught initially, I have no friggin' idea, because that is a conversation. But, yeah, I'm sure.
Let's see here. T-Rex is lower. T-Rex is 4 from the bottom. Thin Lizzy, middle of the pack, right next to Motorhead and Whitney Houston.
Is Thin Lizzy above or below Judas Priest?
Below. Priest is number 5.
But there's what? 12, 13 acts. So
16.
16. So 16. Priest is 5, so that puts Lizzy's at around 8?
9.
9. Priest at 5 is a good sign. It's going to take more. It's going to take way more than a fan vote, even if they were at 1, to get them in. I know for a fact, because I'm not just talking out of my ass, folks. As I mentioned, I am a voter myself. I know people. I talk to people. I knew about this list and these nominees a week before it hit. Didn't say anything because, again, if I'm told it's in confidence, I don't say it. But I know for a fact that when Priest were on 2 years ago and went to the voting panel, of the voting panel, the vote was very low for them. Like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't like they were just on the cusp of getting in. So that's why they didn't even run them on the nominees last year. Here we are 2 years later, back on the list of nominees, a little higher in the fan vote. Let's see if my fellow voters step up. I, of course, will be voting for them. I feel they're incredibly important, despite the fact they don't come on my show anymore. Which is a whole other story of ridiculousness beyond words. But, of course, we'll be voting for them. And how will the other 1,000 or so people who have votes feel about Priest? Because 2 years ago, not nearly enough people stepped up. And I fear if that happens again this year, it may be a while before we see Priest show up on this ballot again. So let's see. Let's see what happens. We'll know. Well, I guess I should be seeing the ballot show up in the mail any day. And anyone who has listened to Trunk Nation here over the last few years knows, and I will continue this tradition, that I do my ballot on the air with you guys. It's a big thing I do every year. The actual real ballot with a real legitimate vote, I will do live on the air with you. It's a whole show. And we fill it out and finalize it. And normally, how it works is I get to pick 5 before I mail it in, right? So last year, one of my picks I gave to you, the audience, and let you call in and basically vote on my show. Like, I'll tell you right off the bat, these 4, Judas Priest, whatever, are stone cold locks. The 5th spot, tell me who it should be. And it's a lot of fun, and it's really important because it means that vote means as much as the entire fan vote. So it's not to be taken lightly, but I want you guys to have a real voice and a real impact. So I'll do that again this year. And it's going to be really hard for me to do that this year.
Very.
Because I don't know who I would leave on the sidelines to leave up to you, because I have a solid 5 on the rock end of things that I will absolutely be wanting to vote for. So even if I wasn't doing this, I'm going to have a tough cut or 2 in here.
There's more than a solid 5 here.
I know. It's a good list for rock for once.
It is.
What else, Ed? Anything else?
Well, very sad to break this news today. We apparently know why now that Frankie Banali of Quiet Riot has been missing shows with the band, and it's not good. The drummer, the only remaining member of Quiet Riot from their, quote, classic era, says in a statement via rock journalist Mitch LaFon, I just want to let all of my friends and fans know what's going on with me and why I have unfortunately missed some appearances this year. I've been battling stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He says he's been undergoing rigorous treatment and that he does intend to play a show this weekend, this Saturday, at the Whiskey in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier. Incredibly sad news. I've known Frankie for decades. Wonderful guy and big personality and always fun to talk to. A phenomenal drummer, too, by the way. And I just, crushed to hear this news, as most rock fans are today. And I wish him nothing but the best. The hard part about this is anybody knows that knows anything about this horrible, horrible, horrible disease, that pancreatic cancer is considered to be up there among the most brutal. So Frankie is going to have and I'm sure is in the throes of a real battle, and just cannot send enough positive thoughts and prayers and vibes out his way. And he's a fighter, and he's going to want to get out there and play on Saturday. Quiet Riot, as Ed said, playing the Whiskey, popping up and at least playing some of the set. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people there in Southern California rooting and cheering him on to play that show. But I reached out to Frankie. I sent him an email this morning as soon as the news came out, wishing him well and hoping for the best for Mr. Benally in what will be certainly a very, very difficult battle.